Hey there, world. I want to talk to you all about young people and the internet, because there are certainly some very peculiar anomalies going on in the way people think about knowledge and the internet now. What is true and what is online? I have made so many people laugh so hard, so long. When I say facetiously, of course. But I saw it on the internet. It must be true. First of all, let's talk about what's on the internet that isn't true. Deep fakes. None other than the elected leader of a major country in the world told me about 8 years ago in a phone conversation that he himself had seen videos of himself that had been deep faked, edited from other videos, and it looked for all the world like he was saying things that he never said. And he said, "This is so insidious. People can make it appear that you have said things that you didn't. And we all know what Photoshop is, so people have been Photoshopping things for a long time. Still photos." Just because you saw it on the internet doesn't mean it's true. Now, let's talk about what is true, but what isn't on the internet. I have talked to young people, and this is really hilarious, who said, I'll make some comment about, oh, I read a study years ago that indicated that such and such was the case, or um, made a comment about something that I had seen online but then disappeared, something that had in fact disappeared from my email. And they said, but, and they'll immediately look at their phones like it's a, I don't know, some sort of barrier or something. They'll bring up their phone in front of their face in the middle of a conversation, and they'll search something, and they say, well, it's not online. I can't find it online. Therefore, I don't believe you. People, I promise you. I promise you. Someone who was actually born at a national security agency attached to military intelligence base. A lot of what's true, you're not going to find online. One of the things that one young person, and why is it always women? Young women are so competitive with older smart ones. Duh. They could just be busy learning from us instead of trying to be jealous and competitive, huh? I think. I don't know. I was talking in another video about approach/avoidance, which is a study of how people make decisions in business. It's often called cost benefit analysis, but there's a way to do a cost benefit analysis in your personal life as well. And one of my more, I think, helpful and successful videos has been the one that deals with approach avoidance concepts in personal decision making. And several people have said, I haven't been able to find anything about those studies you cite. And therefore, what? You make them up? No, I read them in the 80s. I did my graduate work in psychology and behavioral medicine in the 1980s, before a lot of information was digitized. There were, in the late 70s, there were approximately a million pages of research published in the field of psychology. By the late 80s, early 90s, there were approximately 10 million pages of research published in the field of psychology, and that's just one field of endeavor. So think of how much information there is that 8 billion people are generating right now, and how little of it really actually ends up online, available to your particular search engine. You might not be using the most thorough search engine or the one that's particularly adept at finding information never to be filled with knowledge. But that doesn't mean that the research or the knowledge isn't there. It just means it's not currently that instant available to you because of your cell phone. Now let's get to the more wacky stuff. There was a letter written to the world by William S. Cooper. He was the gentleman who wrote Behold a Pale Horse. Some of his writings would be considered conspiracy theory, but I happen to know that every single thing William ever said was true. Everything William Cooper ever said was true. And I have not been able to find that letter that he wrote the world for several years. Although I originally found it online, that's how I came across it. I had printed it out. I had attached a link to it to my email and emailed it to people. And subsequently, it's even disappeared from my email. And when I made that comment in front of a government operative, some ex-Navy reprobate creep who hacks people's email and destroys their lives in many ways, he said he actually hacked into my email and deleted it because he didn't want me sending it out anymore. Your tax dollars at work? Well, it goes on. There used to be an audio tape made in Richard Nixon's office when he was in office. And he talks to someone about ordering the death of Bobby Kennedy. The United States president was talking about killing his opposing candidate for president. Found it. I believe it. I'd heard about it before. I'd heard about it in the 60s and 70s. But now you can't find it anymore. If you didn't live through that era, you don't know how devastating those days were. I'm just barely old enough to remember the death of John Kennedy. The whole world mourned. Then we lost Martin Luther King in April of 1968 and Bobby the following June. And those events were a part of what destroyed the world. You can't hear the tape of a United States president ordering the death of an opposing candidate anymore on the internet, but that doesn't mean, young people, that it didn't happen or that it isn't true. The other thing I personally can't find on the internet anymore is the opening statement of the Bilderberg Conference in 1954. In 1954, the first Bilderberg Conference occurred, and at that conference, rich people who think they're better than you are. There was a manifesto printed, signed, distributed to all attendees, and the document was entitled World War III is being declared today. And it said, let history show, and it said, history will reveal that World War III began in 1954. It starts today, it starts right now. And that war will be a war waged not between countries, or even warring tribes within national boundaries. World War III is being declared by the elite on the masses. World War III is being declared by the elite on the so-called masses of the world. It went on to talk about the techniques of this war. It said it won't be fought exclusively with bombs and bullets. It will be fought partially with words and lies, disinformation. The truth sandwich was born, and the truth sandwich being when your government tells you some stuff that's true and some stuff that isn't. Like there was some sort of incident at Roswell, but it was actually a weather balloon. So since part of it's true and you don't know which part of it's false, then what we get is something that looks a lot like the manifesto that one has to sign when you're at Yale and you're being hazed and brought into the Skull and Bones Society. The Skull and Bones Society says you have to be willing to make war against the masses to be a member of our big boys fraternity. You use weapons like famine. 25,000 people will have starved to death today. Approximately 25,000 people starve to death every single day. Famine's in place. War. There have been wars going on in some part of the world every single day since the end of World War II. What war ended? There's war going on right now somewhere. What else? Pestilence. We had Zika. We had Ebola. Now we have coronavirus. Pestilence is alive and well. And disinformation. False prophets. Yeah, the four horsemen of the apocalypse were listed in not only Revelations in the Bible, listed in the Skull and Crossbones or the Skull and Bones Manifesto, as well as the 1954 Bilderberg Declaration of World War III against you. So, young people, dear, sweet, precious young people, exuberant, creative, intelligent souls, just because you haven't found it online, at least lately, does not mean it didn't happen. Does not mean it isn't happening right now. It doesn't mean that it isn't true. Think on these things, my friend.